Hey everybody, welcome back for another discussion video. Something I've been thinking about nearly a week at this point since I've been covering a lot of spoiler reviews for everything Star Wars from episode 1 going all the way up until Rise of Skywalker, including the TV shows Clone Wars and Mandalorian, and that kind of thing. And I was having a conversation with some coworkers of mine, and I'm like, I know they probably done this a mighty long time ago, but it's like, what if Dave Filoni, the head honcho for Star Wars right now, decided to make a Star Wars fighting game? None of that Battlefront bullshit, okay? And as great as Jedi Fallen Order is, I would like I will buy the hell out of a up to date, current for new gen PS5, Xbox Series X and S Star Wars fighting game. And just like all these beloved characters that we know can feel like a solid roster, and we get like some solid stages. It could be a banger of a video game. And I got some slides together and just give you my idea how it will work as far as what the game mechanics and and stuff like that should at least set a foundation of what how it could work. And I know there's been Star Wars characters in other fighting games like Soul Calibur, but I'm like, okay, they need their own strict fighting game based off their shit. So as far as what I base off what a game mechanic, how very good fighting games that work exceptionally well and to this day is high regarded. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a perfect example of build a solid roster, great music, and just a good balance. A finished product, good balance, great artwork. And they can do something with have one side have that Capcom one side and have Marvel one side. We can have Sith or bad guys on one side, or light side with the good characters and something like that. Or something similar to Dragon Ball FighterZ, who got this plethora of characters, but also so well balanced, and the online play is solid, and just it'll be phenomenally well. And it's this art and and cool voice actors involved, or people reprising certain roles. You get Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor to voice Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, obviously. And I'm sure Mark Hamill can just throw in his voice for, I know it's kind of his voice getting up there a little bit, but I don't know. It seems I don't think any Star Wars fan would care. Just get Mark Hamill back as Luke. I'm use these two games as a good basis on what to build off of for their own Star Wars fighting game. And as far as the characters involved, my idea, because I've been going through a lot of Star Wars for my little reviews for the franchise from beginning to end, and so far, obviously got to have Ahsoka. And this is where I won't say it gets tricky, but it's kind of same way as certain fighting games have alternate characters, you get young Ahsoka, you get to choose between same character. You choose the character of Ahsoka, and you get you press you get certain costumes. Obviously, you can still probably do costumes, aesthetics for these characters, or different color variations. But you also get to choose an alternate like in like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you have like an alternate version of the Wolverine character, where you can choose his Weapon X format, and you can have something similar to Ahsoka, where like the standard would be like grown up Ahsoka, Prime Ahsoka, but you can switch to like alternate Ahsoka where in her Clone Wars years, and obviously you get both the young actress for Ahsoka from the cartoon, and also Rosario Dawson for grown up Ahsoka. Get every baller, just like, oh my god, just the not double bladed, but like dual lightsabers, and just be freaking amazing. You know how many people would just use like Ahsoka constantly probably be their main. Then you got of course like this one was kind of tricky because like you can same way with Ahsoka, you can have like alternate. At first I thought like, okay, we have alternate like same character, Anakin and Vader. You know, alternate, you have like Prime Vader as in the roster, but you can choose like the alternate where you can choose the Anakin version. But then it's like, as I thought about it a little bit more, like no, these got to be like separate individuals. I feel like he's like one of the characters that you gotta keep like separate, because you have Vader for this like just one particular choice, and then you have Anakin by himself. So they gotta keep like these two separate, even though they're the same guy. But you gotta have Hayden Christensen Vader. You gotta, Boba Fett. Obviously, you gotta have Boba Fett, and you can have like the current Book of Boba Fett, as the Prime, but maybe an alternate can be like Empire Strikes Back level Boba Fett, but pretty much the same stuff. So I don't know if that would work. It could just use the same thing, because I know a lot of people like dad bod Boba Fett, but it works either way for me. Bo-Katan, gotta have Bo-Katan. She's like become like such a favorite for a lot of people, especially since Mandalorian. So you gotta have Bo-Katan in it, same voice actress. That'll be baller. It's have like Bo-Katan up in there. You gotta have these Mandalorians in here, and like, obviously got Mando, but you guys got like Django. We'll see later, and then like Bo-Katan, and then of course Boba, the primary Mandalorians that we all know and love. Cad Bane, bounty hunters. Gotta have more bounty hunters that's not like Mandalorians. But Cad Bane became such a favorite for a lot of people as far as like a good bad guy, and like this kind of bad guy is just like, yeah, I'm in it for the money kind of situation. And it's you gotta have Cad Bane, obviously, and you gotta have certain tricks, because like Cad Bane is obviously different from other bounty hunters, where it's like the way he wields certain things. So you got like jet boots, obviously. You gotta have his classic hat, and like certain blasters at the hip, and holsters. Cable on his arm and flamethrowers. You can do all kind of tricks with like Cad Bane, but of course, these Mandalorians, they all have their own little thing. You can tweak certain things, even though they come from the same kind of posse. You can tweak certain things to make them differentiate with each other. Because Mando will have his thing, Cad Bane have his thing, Django, Boba, Bo-Katan, they all have their little thing, even though they cut from relatively the same cloth. Cal Kestis has to be in this. Okay, it's a must-have. He's such a great character. I also have Starkiller on this list, because we got to bring back. I'm rooting for Starkiller to make a return in the Star Wars canon. He's such a great character. I love Starkiller. He's such a badass. Him and Cal Kestis need to make a return. For Cal Kestis, gotta have BB-8 on his back. That's a must-have. Gotta have BB-8, because it just feels naked without him. And of course, you get to like just him being unique. Well, kind of like Ahsoka, because he can wield dual lightsabers, but his game mechanic, it'll be interesting, because like in the game you can choose between have like a single bladed lightsaber, but you can flip a switch and you got dual bladed, and then of course there's a particular move where you separate them, and he got two lightsabers now, and that could be incorporated into his fighting style, where his single blade turns to a dual blade. They can twist off and have two blades, or and then you can have like something with BB-8 to like stem BD, and and it's like oh, and it's like there certain taunts and quotes, and it's like maybe you can have that as like Cal Kestis's like little quote, like like stem BD kind of thing, or like it's in fighting kind of like dialogue where it's like, well BD, time to get back to the ship, or like got found that holocron BD, or something like that, Cersei needs us back on the ship, or something like that. And Ahsoka can have like a thing with Luke, or not Luke, Anakin. It's like, like, hey there, Snips. It's like, I told you not to call me Snips. Something like that. Or like how Boba said, like, you believe that Bantha fodder. Or like Han Solo. It's just something like that. You gotta have some special kind of dialogue between certain characters that have some kind of relations. Or you have Mando can like come into the stage, meet another character, and it's like, I could bring you in hot, I could bring you in cold. It's something badass like that. Chewbacca obviously can't get much from him besides his Wookiee speak. But obviously, if he goes up against like someone who chose Han Solo, only certain people like Han or Luke can probably understand what or maybe Yoda can understand what particular dialogue Chewbacca might be speaking and have like a proper response to it. But by and large, everybody else probably either they can be 50-50 on who can understand what Chewie might say, and others who just like, yeah, I don't know what you're saying, dude. And you gotta have his little, crossbow bolt kind of thing. And of course, like he can be like the tanky character, obviously, because Wookiees are physically strong. He can be like the tank of a character, kind of like the same way as like Mike Haggard or Hulk in MVC3, or Broly in Dragon Ball Fighters. Count Dooku, obviously I got Count Dooku in there. Sir Christopher Lee. And it's like, of course, the way his stance usually is, goes have like that one hand behind his back, and like you gotta have some kind of sophistication about his fighting style. It's kind of like, I imagine him like the Magneto kind of, characteristic, where he's like he fights with one hand behind his back and like just, kind of like fencing in a way. And I imagine that as like a gameplay mechanic. We choose Dooku as a character. And you have like a special dialogue with him and Yoda, Obi, Anakin, and Qui-Gon. Darth Bane. You have Darth Bane. Gotta have like probably one of the ultimate Siths. Somehow you gotta have him in there as like an ultimate Sith. Don't know what kind of dialogue you might have for him, but you see him a little bit in the Clone Wars when like Yoda's on his little mythic journey kind of situation. And I figured, like, why not have Darth Bane in this? Ezra Bridger, gotta have him. A fairly skilled Padawan. Gotta have Ezra Bridger. You gotta have these Rebels guys in here. I think his special dialogue had to be between Ahsoka and Jaden, Kanan. I'm sorry, Kanan, because only two people on the roster he probably have like any kind of like a special dialogue with, or maybe something with Luke and Vader. Uh, Fennec Shan obviously gotta have Ming-Na Wen in this. She's a freaking badass, and it's like she can have like special martial arts moves because she can go toe to toe with Cad Bane fairly easily. It was like crazy in like the Bad Batch. You see these two fight, and Cad Bane, doing everything he can just to keep up pace with. Because at that point in time in Bad Batch, Fennec Shan is fairly young and new to the game of bounty hunting, but she's like the young cat up against, and fairly older, experienced Cad Bane, but he's having a tough time keeping pace with this woman, and I want to see that implemented with Ming-Na Wen's fighting style in Fennec Shan's gameplay, along with like her blasters. And it gotta have the iconic voice too. Like when she's talking with certain characters, you gotta have Ming-Na Wen. That's a must. I love Ming-Na Wen. Gotta have. There's a fair amount of Inquisitors, but you gotta have. If you have any Inquisitor, it gotta be the Grand Inquisitor. Got at least one Inquisitor in this, and it has to be the Grand Inquisitor because you got that unique lightsaber, kind of like a Maul 2.0. And oh my freaking god, I forgot to put Darth Maul on the list. God dog it. But just now we're on the topic. I want to say this now. Darth Maul obviously on the roster. Obviously, I just forgot to include him on the list. God dog it. There's so many characters, but it's like, yeah, now I'm thinking about it. Shit. But yeah, Grand Inquisitor, Darth Maul, famous iconic dual-bladed lightsaber users. Gotta have them both in this. God dog, can't believe I forgot. General Grievous. Gotta have him. Like, General Kenobi. You gotta have that, that coughing, that, thing going on. And of course, his little spinning blades with like, on all four of his arms. And he gotta move like, insectoid-like all over the stage and whatnot. But I don't know about like special moves. I mean, because they gotta have unique special moves to separate them all. But I didn't think that far ahead. But I'm just like going over like the basis of what I kind of want, who to be in there, and like what the stages should look like, and like the game mechanics should, they can like not rip off, but pretty much use that could, that proven their worth, as good fighting games that, great online and great mechanics. And MVC3 and Dragon Ball FighterZ have, had like a solid both online and offline mechanics that work fairly well. They can just use that as a basis. Han Solo, obviously, and you gotta have that little move where like it is one of his taunts, is like kind of thing. It's Han Solo. You gotta have him snarky attitude Han Solo, and of course, one of his special moves gotta have him like be able to fire off a gun very faster than more fast than any other character, because Han shoots fucking first. And of course, you can have alternate, appearances as like Harrison Ford Han Solo or Alden Eckridge. I forgot how you pronounce his last name. The younger Han Solo as alternate things. Harrison Ford famously doesn't want to come back and to return as the role of Han Solo in any capacity. That's obvious. So you can have like Alden come in because he played Harrison Ford in the Solo movie, so you can have him do the voice. That's fine to me. He was like a good spot on Han Solo. Jango Fett, gotta have Jango Fett as a unique Mandalorian. And you have like a unique kind of dialogue between him and Boba, to where it's like Boba, is that you? Oh, let's see what you learn. And and you can have something from Boba's like, father. Oh, now I'm thinking about it, it's like, because I did not include like what, because if you learn anything from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, not everything needs like a story mode. Same thing with like Jump Force, because like their story modes suck. But because I think everybody would be just happy to have a fighting game without any kind of like story mode attached to it. But if you include a story mode, there's like, I remember an episode of Rebels where Ezra Bridger goes to this kind of nexus point or something, to where you can see all these kind of various timelines, and maybe you can do something with that, where it's like this nexus kind of like, is seeping through like reality instead of being like, out of reality. It's seeping through reality to where like kind of like, time is splitting and like erupting or something like that, and all these different periods of time is eking through into the present day to get all these characters from various points of time together. And that could explain why you get Jango Fett meeting with his adult son, kind of thing. If you want to make add some kind of story element to it, you don't need it, but I think using that as a foundation could give you the explanation that you need in some fashion. Kanan Jarrus, obviously got to have him in there. He's too much of a fan favorite from Rebels, along with Ezra. Keep one of the Ezra, but you know what I mean. Bridger. And of course, you got to have like not blinded, and then you alternate to the blinded version. Obi-Wan, and of course, one of his iconic lines. You're going to have so many iconic lines these guys can quote in this game when they see each other or they end victory speeches or something like that. You can have, sometimes, Obi-Wan can walk into a scene and say, or I can do this right here. Hello there. Gotta have him say that. Or you can see like he has he runs into, not runs into, but if somebody chooses Anakin Skywalker as their fighter of choice, and somebody chooses Obi-Wan, their dialogue it can have like you have something to the fact of, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." And you have like Anakin's like, "You underestimate my power." And like, just, or like you see, you choose Vader instead, you have Obi-Wan saying like, "My God, Anakin." Or you have like Qui-Gon look at like Vader and it's like, "I failed you, Anakin. I'm sorry." Or something like that. You gotta have something unique with these two when you see like Vader. From a little boy and see them what you turn into, you gotta have certain dialogues with that. I don't know what you'll have Vader say to Qui-Gon Jinn, but it has to be something to the effect like, "You shouldn't have left me with that fool," or something like that. Kylo Ren, gotta have Kylo Ren. Obviously, Adam Driver, gotta have Adam Driver voice the character, and you can have like alternate where you can have like standard Kylo Ren with the mask, or alternate where you have Ben Solo again, and you get the crossblade with Kylo Ren version, and you got like the iconic regular blue lightsaber with Ben Solo. And I imagine like his super move gotta be, no, not a super move, but like his ending victory gotta have him just like trying to like go, like you see him go ham on that console and he's just losing his shit in Force Awakens. Something like that on that level. And it's something that cool. But yeah, you gotta have Kylo Ren in this, and then maybe something unique where in the middle of fighting, his mask come off, kind of like uh, uh, Albert Wesker in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where his glasses at some point come off, or like with Vega and Street Fighter, where the mask comes off, and one of the, like you can press the taunt button or something like that, you can put the mask back on, kind of situation. Lando, I don't know what I obviously used a blaster and everything like that, but you probably have to really finagle something to make a playable Lando. And obviously you got to have alternate, Donald Glover, and then alternate with Billy D. Williams, obviously. Princess Leia, and I'm trying to say what kind of alternate costume you gotta have, like the standard this suit from Empire Strikes Back, and then the other costume from when we first meet her, the Princess Leia costume from New Hope. And probably have to find some kind of voice alike. Someone can do like a good Carrie Fisher voice for the character. Oh, and then when somebody chose Han to fight with, she got to say like, "I love you," and you got to have like, "I know," something like that. And same thing with like unique dialogue between Kylo and Han. It's like you have like Kylo like, "Father, I'm." He's like, "I know." That kind of thing. Of course, you gotta have Luke. Return of the Jedi Luke. And it's like just cause I know people make jokes about deep fake looking Luke in Mando, but I enjoyed it. I think it was like a decent mechanism where they make people look younger. I think they kind of like I think this is like a step up from what we've seen in the past, even with like what we saw from like Rogue One with Princess Leia. I think this is a step up from that. But you gotta have Luke Skywalker, obviously, and he probably had the most vast, unique dialogue between a lot of these characters, because he is such a pivotal kind of character, him and Anakin. Mace Windu, gotta have Samuel Jackson, obviously. And it'd be interesting because Samuel Jackson said he wants to come back as Mace Windu, and it'd be interesting for a storyline to where he's, not in the dark side, but obviously more hardened from being maimed by the supposed chosen one, that he probably will say something like, "I never trusted that kid anyway," or something to the effect where he's, had like a very cynical outlook on everything, and how like the downfall of everything with the Jedi Order and the Republic and everything he fought for all turned to crap because of this supposed chosen one. And it's kind of like that'd be an interesting kind of story, with his little arc. Mando, and like I have Baby Grogu, Baby Yoda in this, obviously in some capacity. We got like, because they go hand in hand with each other, and kind of like I imagine maybe something like BB-8 with Cal Kestis, where he's just like on his back or something, or you can have him doing one of the victory poses of Mando, where he's just picking up Baby Yoda and cradling him, and it's like his victory that'll be his victory pose kind of situation. And of course, like gotta have Pedro Pascal to voice this guy. God, it's like I love Mando. Din Djarin, I should say. And of course, you got to have something from the Mandalorian. It's like because I don't think Cara Dune will probably be considering like what Gina Carano did. I had to figure out okay, what would be like a good secondary kind of character to add on to this potential game. And I think like Moff Gideon's a good substitution for Cara Dune. And you got to have the dark saber in this. So I think have I forgot the actor's name, but he's one of the greatest character actors alive, and you got to have him come voice Gideon again, and do something unique with him. Obviously, he was a great character. He was a great villain. Padme, I nearly forgot to include Padme in this list because I was like, what that's Padme. You see in Clone Wars, she does involve herself in fights and blaster battles and stuff like that. So she has some she throws just like Leia, because that's where Leia gets it from. She doesn't sit on the sidelines. She gets in the thick of it too. So you can have something with her. And don't know if you can get Natalie Portman to voice the character, or you can just get like a sound alike. But yeah, you can add Padme to the list and have her saying something unique with grown up Luke and Leia. That would be interesting. Or seeing like Vader, and she can say like, "You're breaking my heart." I know people joke, but it'll be kind of funny of a troll move if you have like Anakin version going up against like the Padme character. If you chose like those fighters, you have like Anakin say like, "I hate sand. It's coarse, rough, and it gets everywhere." And you get just, like Leia, I mean not Leia, but like Padme say something unique, or it's like this cheesy, corny, bad dialogue you hear from like the prequel trilogy, you can include in this as a funny thing, because like, we end on the joke. That story in there, just the end on the joke. It's funny. It's funny at this point. It's bad. It's so bad is good kind of situation. Liam Neeson got to come back as Qui-Gon Jinn, and obviously, like I said before, he got a good amount of unique dialogue with someone like Yoda and Anakin and Obi-Wan. It'd be kind of a unique thing to see like him and Luke, because like you can see Luke, see Anakin through Luke, and it's like, so like, because you're the new hope, or something or the other. Gotta have something unique dialogue. Lead up to like kind of like the more professional writers, but I'm just like spitballing here. Now, obviously, because I'll have stormtroopers on here, and like, there's unique stormtroopers. I have Captain Rex on here because he's too unique to be, like a generic kind of character. But we have to have like a generic rebel and a generic stormtrooper, because there's two, variations of this military personnel. So you got alternate kind of like, artwork with them, where you have like the snow version on Hoth, and you can alternate that with the pilot version, and then like the one in Endor, the Force version, as like unique kind of clothes you can switch between, but fairly using like same kind of standard weaponry that these kind of infantrymen and pilots probably would have used. So you get like generic rebels. And like I said, Captain Rex, very unique, got his own thing going on, and you got to have iconic costume with the counters, like the checked off counters on his helmet and everything like that. Too unique to be left out of this. And of course, you got to have D. Bradley Baker to return to voice a lot of these clones. Rey, Palpatine, because I'm not calling her Rey fucking Skywalker. That's so fucking dumb. But you gotta have Rey in this. Along with Kylo, her and Kylo is like the primary two people that from the sequel trilogy that has to be on this roster, because I love this actress. I'm blanking on her doggone name. I'd like to say Lisa, but that could be wrong. But you got to have her reprise her role in this game if it would have been made, because and she had to have something unique with Kylo. Obviously, it's like, you'll never be as powerful as Darth Vader, and lights up her lightsaber and readies for like the fight. Because this character, despite how the sequel trilogy turned out, she was a great character. I loved this character so much. Her and Kylo. I didn't include Oscar Isaac's character, but I mean, you could make something with him, but I don't know. You could. More so than John Boyega's character, honestly, because I don't know. It wasn't a terrible character, but it's like, as far as like a fighting game, I don't know. Sidious, gotta include Sidious in this. Lightsaber and lightning. And of course, he'll probably have one of the best lines out of the entire game. And one of his winning dialogues could be like, "Execute Order 66. Starkiller, like I said, gotta have Starkiller in this. Bring back that actor to reprise that role, because he's such a badass. And people love Force Unleashed. It's crazy that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have not included this character in the canonized Star Wars. Because when the game was created, Disney didn't acquire Star Wars yet. So it wasn't in canon. They should make it canon, along with include Cal Kestis, because these two are great additions to the Star Wars universe. And it's like, come on. We all remember that iconic trailer to The Force Unleashed with him pulling a Star Destroyer right out of the freaking sky. How baller was that? And Stormtroopers, another just like with Rebels, you can have generic Stormtrooper, but like alternate, from like the base one to like the Hoth costume or the Dark Trooper, or like the Endor costume kind of thing. There's so much you can do with like the costumes for Stormtroopers. Bad Batch. This one was difficult because I'm thinking about because they gave me the idea similar to in Dragon Ball FighterZ, you have like the Ginyu Force, and how unique that was. Instead of making like separate things for each character, they can just be like a complete unit. And you can do the exact same thing with a Bad Batch, to where like you got like, just like with Ginyu, you have Hunter as like the main guy, but his super moves could bring out like Echo or Crosshairs or Wrecker or Tech, to do all this cool stuff. So like they can all be like one unit as a character. Like I said, Vader is just like a piece of a character, and it has to be like his own thing instead of like a alternate Anakin kind of situation. They, even though they're the same guys, they can play very like the more vicious version of whatever gameplay style of Anakin, because he's like a perversion of Anakin's ideals. And I don't know about, you can do something with voice modulation, because you obviously cannot keep bringing James Earl Jones back for the voice. Either do something with Hayden Christensen but trying to do something where he can do his own take on the Vader voice, and we can roll with that, or splice something together with old clips from James Earl Jones' stuff. And I always got Ventress, and her unique play style, uh, and her unique dialogue with Dooku and Obi-Wan more specifically than anything else. And Ahsoka, and seeing Ahsoka, grown up Ahsoka, doing dual bladed herself, and it's like say something smart like, so you copy my moves, and Ahsoka be like, no, I just did it better. Yoda, gotta have Yoda in this because that's definitely a must-have. And like, hate leads to anger, it's, it's something unique. Like it's something unique specifically from like the Empire version of Yoda. It's like all the goofy little giggles and it's just this goofy Yoda voice, and it's like so, and he has to have very unique dialogue with each Jedi. And finally, Salim, more of like a magic-based user, but if we have to have like a Night Sister, and then gotta have the Queen of the Night Sisters included in this roster to make it something to add some diversity towards this roster of like gunfighters and like lightsaber wielders. You got like a magic user on this, and of course, if you got a special characters, there's 2 special characters I think it would be uniquely fun to include. You got Disney, because Disney acquired Star Wars. You gotta have Kingdom Hearts Mickey and Star-Lord, because I thought like, what is a good space? Because Star-Lord, such an 80s character, and it's like it'll be like so right on target. Just include him into the roster as a special guest character, and he has such unique dialogue, and all these characters looking at him like, and like who are you, Star-Lord? Who? That kind of thing. That'll be just so fun. And it's probably one of the few things that when people say we got Chris Pratt in this, and people won't question it, because like people have been making some odd choices with including Chris Pratt and stuff, and it's like, not that he's a bad choice in certain things, but just kind of like he got one speed, and it's kind of like odd to include him in certain things that probably will take some out of the box acting with, because like him and Seth Rogen kind of got like a one speed in acting as far as like acting chops. And then as far as like stages are concerned, we got Endor, and I thought about like stage transition like in Injustice. You can do that because there's definitely different spots on Endor if you want to do some unique stage transitions like Injustice. But we got Endor, Coruscant, Dagobah, Dathomir. You can also have like, either stage transitions or interactive, like in Mortal Kombat, got like interactive props in on the stage where you can use to throw at or maneuver around the stage. Throw at a character or maneuver around the stage. The Death Star, like I try to find like a image where it's like like a part of the Death Star where you see that beam come out, that's firing, but I couldn't find it. But you can have something unique where it's near like the core where Luke blasted, or not Luke, but Han or Orlando blasted to blow up the Death Star the second time. The Emperor's throne room, obviously, with the Emperor like sitting on a chair in the back, like Shao Kahn or something like that, or have it be empty if you're choosing the Emperor as a fighter. The Gungan Hidden City, you can include Jar Jar in the back, but only if something's happening to Jar Jar that caused him to get hurt, because like he was a terrible character, and I think people wouldn't mind if you include Jar Jar in something, have him constantly being hurt in the background somewhere, or just don't add him at all. But you gotta have like at least other Gungans and stuff like that, obviously. Hoth, obviously, with like the war going in the background while they're fighting on like in the snowy landscape. Jedi Temple, where you can stage transition in front of the temple, getting right into like the council room with like other Jedi's that's not included in the roster, sitting in the chairs and looking on as like you have your fighters fighting, or if you have like Mace or Yoda or Obi-Wan, they don't be in their seats. They're in if they're choosing them to fight, they'll be in like the fighting position. The on the Mandalorian episode, when you see like the hidden enclave of the remnants of the Mandalorians, you get to have this as, because I needed like something from the Mandalorian as a stage, and I think this is like a good spot to have like the Mandalorian leader smelting armor in the back, like a blacksmith in the background while your characters are fighting. Mustafar, obviously, and you gotta have like those platforms, and you're fighting on top of those platforms as it's going through all the lava and stuff like that. That'll be baller. Naboo, gotta have a Naboo somewhere, like inside one of the cities or some, one of the castles or something like that. Some Rebel base. I chose like the Hoth version, but any Rebel base gotta have like a Rebel base as one of the stage. And I thought Hoth would be like a good obvious choice because that's part of the most memorable Rebel base that you can think of. Sith Temple, where Ahsoka, like spoiler alert, Ahsoka battles Vader in one of the Rebels, because I had to have like a scene from Star Wars Rebels in this. This would probably be like a good one. And finally, Tatooine, because you gotta have Tatooine in this. And like a stage transition can be like in front of Luke's home into like near like the cantina bar, something like that. But that is like what I envision what like a Star Wars game to have, and the kind of gameplay I expect from that. Something similar to like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Dragon Ball Fighters. And like those stages are like so good, and that roster is so good. And don't forget Darth Maul, obviously. Like I forgot to include him on the list, but he has to be there along with these other characters. They're so iconic, coming from all points from the timeline of the Star Wars franchise. But let me know what you guys think of my idea for like a Dave Filoni Star Wars fighting game. What you guys think? Are y'all on board? Like, is that something you want to like, really hit home? Go bug, Dave Filoni on Twitter, and it's like, hey, you gotta make a Star Wars fighting game, like an up-to-date Star Wars fighting game for the current gen kind of stuff. It's gonna be so good. You gotta do this and blah blah blah. That's my idea. But I will see you guys next time. Next week. Well, obviously I'm gonna be playing more video games, but next review will be going through Rebels next week. First couple seasons Rebels, and go through that and proceed on with other Star Wars reviews. So yeah, I will see you guys later. And